Hi, everyone. This is Lisa Haven, and I've got a very, very important report to share with you today. And that is this. The global ruling elite, the elitists, are in a panic. They are literally running scared because patriots, conservatives, gun owners, and Christians, all of us out there are starting to win the information war. Information about their plans, their agenda are being leaked left and right. And I know that they're in a panic because I see their fight against us getting stronger, bolder, and more in the face. And at the same time, they have the growing opposition. So the more their opposition grows, the more their fight becomes. And that's what I'm seeing. It's really getting bad. But the good news is more YouTube channels, more people are getting informed, more people are waking up, especially with people like Donald Trump out there making things known to the public. There is so much going on. And I'm sick and tired of establishment people ruling our government, and I, as far as I know, Donald Trump is not one of those. Now, why do I know that they're in a panic? Well, that's not the only reason, because we're winning the information war is number one. Number two, because they have resulted to killing opposition. Now, they've been doing this for a few years, but they really upped it with the death of Supreme Court Judge Scalia, who was, he wasn't perfect, but he was known for taking conservative views. And he was one of the more conservative judges on the panel there, on the court there. And they wanted to silence him and send a message to everyone else who is in opposition to the progressive Islamic agenda, socialists who are running this country to its grave. Literally, they want to kill this country and rule it like some communist dictator, and that's exactly where we're headed, and they want to run it underground to the new world order. We know what happened with Judge Scalia was murder. A 99% chance it was murder. Why? Because number one, they refused to do an autopsy. When they refused to do an autopsy on a body, and then within, hours already know how he died. And this is a prominent guy. He's up there. He needs to be and have his body examined. It's not just some person like me, everyday person. It's somebody who is important, and they're trying to say, oh, he had a heart attack. Oh, wait, it's natural causes. Oh, wait. They don't even know how to answer the puzzle, but yet they won't do an autopsy. That says there is murder involved. I mean, so many crazy things. He wasn't with his security officer that night or his normal protection, and just it's not adding up. And that tells us this is an establishment global elitist killing. They wanted him out, and they're going to attempt, unless, something happens, but they're going to attempt to replace Judge Scalia with a more liberal, progressive, minded person. That's a fact. And then we're going to have a bunch of progressives in our Supreme Court there. So we could be looking at big trouble. But this is what they do. They're starting to take out opposition. We know they took out Michael Hastings. We know they took out Breitbart. We know that they've taken out anyone leaking information. I know in a report earlier today, Larry Nichols, who often comes on this program, had a black SUV following him at his house, came to his house, parked in the car. He's got pictures of it on his phone. He was talking about it on Alex Jones' channel yesterday. So they're upping the attack against him now as well. And he gets all kinds of inside information that they don't want leaked. Hillary, Killery is scared of Larry Nichols. And, I hope and pray, that she doesn't make it into office first and foremost, because that woman is a witch, an utter witch. But now is the time to make our voices heard. Now, I'm quite frankly scared of the way that our country is going. If somebody like Hillary or Bernie Sanders or Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio or somebody like that gets in this next election, we're in trouble. We're flat out in trouble. Now, I don't normally, back a candidate in any way, but I have to say, with Donald Trump, as a Christian, yeah, I'm going for him. Why? Because he is not an establishment candidate. That I know. He can't be bought and played with money. And so that's outside the entire circle realm that the establishment was meant to make their moves on. So they can't move on him. So much so that the battle against him has become outrageous. They're attacking him on all the news media outlets because they don't want him up there. That makes me think, well, they don't want him. I sure the heck do. And So that's why I'm making my voice heard. Not only that, but Christians are like, well, how can you vote if, it's not about whether he is or isn't this or is or isn't that. You know how many candidates, Obama said he was a Christian. Christians voted for Obama. Some of them did, sadly, but they voted for him because he's a Christian. Oh, don't worry. George Bush was a Christian. Clinton was a Christian. All these supposed presidents in the past claimed to be Christians, yet they did things like pass the Patriot Act, the NDAA, things that Christians wouldn't do. So they're all a bunch of hellabeluga with their mouth. You follow somebody by their actions based on if they are or aren't. That is another reason that I stand with Trump. But I think there's a lot of attacks against him. And here's the other thing to think of is we have the church in league with the government now. They have FEMA. I've leaked on my show and on many other shows that there are FEMA pastors that purposefully work with the government. They held events for safety events in the event of catastrophe or in the event of whatever, at their churches. I've known FEMA pastors to practice gun confiscation. But this is the kind of stuff that's happening in our corrupt churches. Not all churches are corrupt. Thankfully, I go to a church that is not corrupt, and it's standing against in stark opposition of what's happening with the world today. But not many do anymore. Now, this is the same problem they're having in China. You have churches in league with the government, which is why many went underground. Yeah, there's legal churches, but the government is the God, so to speak. Same thing that's happening here, and that's what ticked a lot of people off in China and while they went underground. And guess what? There's labor camps for those who go underground. Now, why? Let's add that up. Because they're not in with the establishment and the rule and what is going on. And let me just say this, here in America, things are about to get hairy. Why do I know that? Because they are scared. The elite are scared. They see the information battle and they're shutting up opposition. And I hope and pray that they, don't start killing a bunch of reporters on a large scale. If you see that, know that their agenda is about to unfold like a big shebang. And prepare yourself, prepare with food, prepare with water, prepare with medical supplies, prepare, because we don't know what's going to play out, what's going to happen, or what event it will likely transpire. If you're not prepared with food, I use foodforliberty.com/Haven. I'll leave a link, but get prepared with somebody. The fact of the matter is, they sense something's on the horizon. And we need to continue to wake up the sleeping halves. I know I have a lot of friends of mine that I am still trying to wake up. And as a woman, unfortunately, there's a lot more women asleep than men. There are more men awake. And that's just statistically speaking. So if you're a woman and you're listening to my channel, please, I encourage you to wake up your friends. Use some of the videos where I go through documents, print out those documents, give it to them, and a lot of times what I get is, I'm scared. It's scary stuff, hello, if the Jews went around yelling, it's scary, during the concentration camp, that's why many of them went into the concentration camp and died, quite frankly, because it was scary. And they wanted to ignore what was right in front of their face. Now, there are some who left the country, who had the warning signs and prepared, but there were many who didn't. And that's what I don't want to happen. Now, I don't know what's going to play out in the near future, but I sincerely hope that we continue the information war. And I can predict that in the near future, they're really going to up the ante against internet. Internet censorship is going to be a big deal. Unless Trump gets in, then I think we've got a little bit more longer shot here. But if somebody else does, we're in hell over high water, or however the saying goes. Blanking at the moment, but all that to say, be ready, because the battle is soon underway. And not to mention what's happening with World War right now and how we are literally on the brink of that. We're making our allies into our enemies. Russia and Israel, we're turning them into our enemies. We're making countries that want to kill us, Iran, into our friends. And we know they can't be our friends because they literally want us obliterated. Not to mention what's happening in Syria, Damascus, biblically speaking, lots of scripture on that about it becoming a ruinous heap. We're seeing that today. And so things are playing out biblically. And for the Christians out there, I want to say this. I want to say, just because it's the end time doesn't mean that God gives you the permission to stop. He doesn't say, oh, it's the end times, let the cards fall where they may. No. If that were the case, then for the last 2,000 years, Christians have been doing that because they thought it was the end times. And while I do believe we are living in the last days, I also believe we have to answer to God one day and say why we did or didn't do our part here in America when we, the people, are in charge. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest on all of this. And if you haven't yet, one of my sponsors is getthetea.com. Ronnie, the guy who runs the company, and his wife Lisa are great people, and their products do wonders. I actually ran out the other day and I was like, I need to get some more. Went to the store and got kind of a knockoff brand, didn't do half as much. So thankfully Ronnie's stuff came in time, but the colostrum I personally use, and the tea really keeps me regulated. I wasn't regulated before, but it's a great detox against some of the harmful chemicals that the government are pouring on our bodies via chemtrails and, the foods that we eat and the things that we are putting on our body at a daily basis. Anyhow, now is the time to get prepared. This is Lisa Haven, and thanks again for tuning in.